Um, top 10 exercises, just top 10 movements for
Hmm.
overall muscular development. And I mean, like, you
Yeah,
can
yeah,
apply this to your coaching like lens or like, however you want to go about it. But I'm curious to hear your take on this, man.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I'm gonna, because I can't count. Math is hard. Write these, not write them down, but mark them off.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do upper body first because I think upper body's relatively easy. Um, so I will say dumbbell incline press, but and I would put the B next to that as alternating. So alternating, but beginning in contraction, right? So contralateral sides remains extended, while the rep is completed on the working side. Uh, Pec flies, preferably on a machine or cable. Some overhead press. I prefer Arnold's, just because they give me like an athletic feel. I like Arnold's for my clients as well because I think that multiplanar movement is really, really important. And I know that our main goal is hypertrophy, and you don't want to introduce instability where unnecessary. But I do think for long term health, multiplanar movement is important. So I like Arnold press.
I love
Uh,
that take from you, man. And I remember reading maybe an article you wrote too, and I was
mhm.
just like, damn, yeah, it's
It's
so
super important
true.
to me. I care about your life. Like bodybuilding is stupid, and so is the sport. So, in general, I care far more about what your life like is like after the stage. But also, we like winning. Um, I would say so. Not everyone's super familiar with this, but a step back row. So, step back rows, any sort of you can not obviously use a machine press. You can use a high row to kind of mimic this. But I want a really, really heavy unilateral lat focused row. So step back rows, half kneeling high row. There's a lot of different variations that you can throw there. So,
Did you do that on
uh,
the hammer strength
yep,
machine?
hammer
That
strength
yeah.
machine, brace with the offhand, and then you
Hmm.
kind of create like a vertical horizontal mechanism there, which I
Hmm.
think lends itself to a lot of lat growth, very targeted lat movement there, which I love. And then I would say I personally love plate raises. I love plate raises. They are not performed enough. Um, they're a really hard fucking movement, but they're also one of those movements that lends itself to body English that and you can continue to get really quality reps, right? Like with a lateral raise, because it's really, really unilateral, right? Like there's a good chance that as you start to fail, your right arm's going up. Like you start doing this, right? Because you're trying to use your body to heave up, but you know, you don't have that mechanism that kind of keeps you in symmetry. Whereas a plate raise, if you start to use a bit of a hip hinge, you're holding on to the same plate. So you don't have to worry about, is my left arm getting righter or hard? I'm
Hmm.
sorry, left arm getting higher than my right arm, et cetera. It's like, no, they're raising together. So I think taking those really, really close, if not beyond failure, is really easy. So I definitely prefer that, and obviously other raise variations. Um, and then I would say RDLs. 100% RDL is my favorite glute development movement. And because I'm a hinge whore, I will also say deficit stiff leg deadlifts. I think that lends itself to strength gains. Again, also it lends itself to a functionality component, right? The very exaggerated range of motion necessitates that most people use less load and really focus on their execution, which has other crossover long-term effects, which are really important to me. That's what, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Um, Leg press, but only if I have the Cybex squat press only. Fuck a linear leg press.
Once again, shout out to Eric because I was in both locations of the 614.
Yes,
That
it
thing's
is
nuts.
super, super important to me to have that. Um, and then I will say machine hamstring curls and some sort of calf variation, heavy, heavy calf variation. So machine calf,
Hmm.
like probably seated, just so that way you could just blast them because people's calves are out there and they're shitty. And people typically, my reasoning for the machine hamstring, preferably seated machine hamstring, is that um, most people are really familiar with how hard it is to perform leg extension. Not to mention, most people have squat dominated programs, like if they're creating for themselves. So the quads are already getting a ton of action. I don't think that a lot of people really focus on their hamstring development, which is why you have a lot of quad dominant people out there, especially females. So having a seated hamstring curl for you to go die on is really important.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Yeah, especially because I don't know, like, I definitely did because I was just not super athletic and, learning things was hard. Proprioception wasn't great for me, but the hinge took a
Mhm.
long ass time for me to nail down. So agree there.
Yeah, I mean, I
Um,
don't know if as a guy it's a good thing, but I remember Bryce at one point in time, he goes, "I'm not gonna lie, man, you just got a really pretty hinge." I'm like, I don't know if that's a good thing that for me. I'm thank you, but I also don't,
that's funny. That's something he would say too. He just appreciates it so much. He tears
yeah,
down
just a
all the
pretty
borders
hinge,
in
man.
between.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.